Hey everyone, this is Matt coming at you with another video, and today I'm going to be doing my review on this week's issue of The Walking Dead, issue number 167. So here we are. We're all finally here to the issue that no one asked for, but of course it had to come eventually at some point. So pretty much without further ado, let's get on with this book. So right now it picks up where it left off in the last issue of The Walking Dead, and Rick is pretty much finally notices the bite on Andrea's neck, and throughout this entire story he grieves like in sadness over Andrea like possibly going to die. And then our next scene right here, pretty much the last thing what happens is Rick is shouting out, "Somebody help me!" And, you know, what I will tell you right now after reading this comic, there are going to be so many powerful moments like this in a couple of pages. And I'm going to tell you what I thought about this comic in the end, but what I can tell you is it's going to be really worth the money. And before I go on quickly, for what I forgot to mention, this is a really thick book, thicker than most of The Walking Dead, so you know this is going to be a really long story. And possibly the last time we'll ever see Andrea again. So continuing where we left off. So right here, pretty much, the next person that comes in is Michonne, and she notices that Andrea's on the ground with Rick, and after that, within the next pages, we see Dwight coming in next after Michonne. And what's interesting about this, seeing these two pages right here, is pretty much like the first thing that Dwight notices is Sherry, but then like that what he tells Rick, the first thing he says is, oh God, what did she do?" And I found this to be really interesting just because the fact that like in most scenarios when you see stuff like that you would assume like, what did you do? But instead he referred to her being like, what did she do? And of course Rick tells Dwight the truth. And after that, he pretty much gives Rick a really death stare look. And this kind of puzzled me a little bit to where, like, you know, since Rick did pretty much tell, you know, Dwight that, look, I had to kill her. She attacked me first kind of situation. It just seems like you would think that Dwight would understand. But after, like, Michonne and Rick leave with Andrea's body, just taking her out, Dwight just keeps giving him that mean stare look, and I understand why, just because, you know, even though their marriage, Sherry and Dwight's marriage, didn't work out and they had differences, he still loved her, you know, very much, you know, so I could tell by this panel right here. So continuing on, the next thing we have is Rick takes Andrea into the room to where she can rest. And what I will tell you throughout this, most of this entire issue is pretty much Andrea just laying in bed waiting for her death. And at this point, you pretty much know that she's going to die. And it's pretty much a whole grieving situation. And, you know, so continuing right along. So as, you know, Andrea's final moments comes, Rick is just, he keeps talking to Andrea, you know, like, "I've never been as close to anyone as I have with you, Andrea. You mean the world to me." And, you know, Andrea just keeps telling him, "Stop it, you know, it sounds like you're writing a greeting card. If you mean it, I already know it," you know. So she's heard all this before, you know, like. And so continuing with all the grieving, you know, Rick, it seems like he's just gonna snap any second, you know, like he really can't handle this with, you know, look, from what it looks like, he has all this anxiety, you know, he's panicking, he's getting scared, and depression's coming out. And I can understand this, you know, it's a very hard time, especially with the character we've gotten to know since the very beginning of the series and all the way till now. And this part kind of really jump scared me in a sense, because I thought she turned, but then I noticed dialogue coming out of her, so she didn't turn into a walker just yet, but this, just this scene alone looks extremely scary. But she's like, snap out of it, you're going to be okay, you have to keep fighting, otherwise all this was for nothing, you know, kind of pep talk he's giving Rick. And he's trying to come to his senses, but it's like, it's very hard for this moment. And right here, I think this is the last time she says, like, her dialogues, and Rick tells, you know, I love you so very much, and man, you can just look at this, like, she's dying hardcore, like, she looks like she's already a walker, but a walker that can talk and has personality. But yeah, she's dying pretty much, and it's like, yeah, you do. Kind of reminds me of a Star Wars reference when Leia tells Han Solo, it's like, I love you. I know, kind of scenario. Like, I thought that was funny. Like, if this kind of reminded you of Star Wars a little bit, like this scene from Empire Strikes Back, leave your comments down below. Let me know if, you know, maybe I'm just going crazy, but it, like, after reading this for the first time, I just brought that Empire Strikes Back moment in there. So anyway, this huge big panel, this probably just indicates that she's dead at this point. Like, she's gone, you know. And throughout continuing, yep, it's for sure, we have our character death. Man, Kurtman, why did you have to do this to us? Like, I remember reading this from the very beginning with Andrea, and I didn't think she'd be the type of character that would go on, but yet, here I was proven wrong, and now we're at this moment where it really sucks that she's dead, and I don't want that, you know? It's really depressing because she's one of my favorite characters in this comic series, most of all. So, you know, it sucks to have her go. And Rick, you know, obviously feels the same way. Like, he's obviously worse. You know, feeling sadness and depression, and it's a very, very, very hard time right now at this very moment for Rick. And you know, from continue on with these pages, it's pretty much all like just panel shots, you know, no dialogue was given whatsoever, continuing. So Rick knows, pretty much right now, Rick knows what he has to do. He has to shoot her, put her out of her misery, but continuing on, it's hard for him. He just can't. He can't bear it. And seeing these tear shots right here, he just drops the gun. It's like, I can't do it type of scenario. And throughout, you'd think there's a possibility, a very possibility that we could have two character deaths, both Andrea and Rick, and could you imagine how mind-blowing that would be? Two major characters dying like that. And so I was afraid to turn this page right here. I was extremely afraid to see what happens. So I did, obviously, and what we get next is Andrea comes back alive as one of the walkers. And Rick is just like, at first it seems like he's giving in, letting Andrea bite him, but then at the very last minute, he just pushes her aside and fights for his life. You know, trying to, you know, struggling on that. And the next thing he does is he gets his gun out. Just, oh my god, he just throws the gun out. It's like, no. And so I figure, like, without seeing this last part right here, I know he's probably going to get the knife because it's the more humane thing to do instead of just shooting. I think Kurtman did a great job on this part right here, knowing that this is the best way. So the last shot, here we go. Bam! Andrea is officially gone. And telling, as gruesome as this was a very hard scene to do. And we see our final moments with the both of them, and just this panel shot, like I said, so many panel shots of like moments like these, and this gigantic one. This is depressing. This is extremely, like, I never thought we'd ever come to this, you know. But it's a very powerful drawing image. I just want to point that out. And for what it seems like right now he's in total shock of everything that's been happening. He's just mind blown. Especially what tip of the iceberg is the fact that now Andrea's dead. He killed her, you know. And for what it seems like, he's been there for hours, you know, just sitting there for hours upon hours. And finally he gets out of the room. Carl, he goes into the light. And this is like, after this is a really cool moment. Like, I kind of like this, kind of like a montage dialogue type of scenario. And so what we have here is the community from different groups all standing outside waiting for Rick to come out. And these words that were on the pop bubble, these are from Andrea's words. So this is Andrea speaking throughout these words right here. And it's the exact same words that she told Rick earlier in this issue. The exact same things going on. How pretty much you have to keep going. You gotta survive. They need you. You know, you're the leader that has to keep on going. If not, all this was all for nothing type of scenario. And the next shot, the next panel right here, is everyone's gathering together, holding each other, like in grief and sadness. And of course, you know, all for Rick, being there for him, for everything that he's done for them. And I really like this a lot. You know, this was really a good shot and a good panel right here. And then these last few pages, Andrea is continuing to talk. And Rick's last words throughout this entire issue is, "Follow me. There is still so much to do." And that's where our story ends with Andrea. I can't believe it. Andrea is officially out of The Walking Dead. You know, it was really hard to read this, but if I have to say, this was a really powerful and amazing issue, story-wise. And then the last thing we have right here, which is pretty nice, is, you know, this is an apology letter from Robert Kirkman himself, telling him, you can read this, so you can pause the video and then just read this right here. But it's pretty much, long story short, he's apologizing for killing off Andrea, and he actually explains why he did and, you know, how he regrets it. But like I said, you can pause the video and read this for yourself and decide what you think about this. But I really do admire that he did this last page right here, apology letter for us fans. The fact that he killed Andrea. So, you know, now that we're done with this, I will give my review on this. This is a really hard review. I really enjoyed this. I did not like that Andrea is officially dead. So I'm going to give 2 reviews on this. Because they killed Andrea like this, I'm going to give this a below 4 out of 10. Because I do not like that. A 4 out of 10 for this death. However, for the story, everything, the art, the direction, the panel shots, everything in this issue, I'm going to give this comic itself a 10 out of 10. This is an amazing read, an amazing way to go from this issue. Especially for a character like Andrea, her last issue in this. What a way to go, you know. And it sucks. And what's cool about this too now is the fact that, like, this is going to be a key issue. A really strong key issue. And this is probably the last time we'll ever see this issue, like this cover art with Andrea right here. Especially with her and Rick together like this. So, you know, I imagine this comic will be worth a lot in value. But yeah, like I said, I am definitely going to give this a 10 out of 10 for this comic issue alone. And of course, like I said, the death of Andrea, the fact that they killed her off, a 4 out of 10. In fact, I'll even go below that than 4 out of 10, just because I didn't want her to die. But yeah, definitely a 10 out of 10 with this comic issue. And I highly recommend you pick this up for Walking Dead fans out there. Either if it's just for, you know, if you're a fan of the TV show, or if, of course, if you're still continuing on reading this, this is definitely a book you really want to pick up. So that's what I'm going to grade this on, a 10 out of 10, and that is my review. So that's going to be my review of this issue of The Walking Dead. Again, I'm really sad to see Andrea go. It's a real shame, and I'm really interested to see where this is going to go without Andrea, what's going to happen next. I'm really excited for the next issue, that's for sure. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe for more content, and until then, I will talk to you guys later. Peace.